He just wants to fight MMA fighters, in boxing rules, and YouTubers. So Floyd Mayweather, if you want a YouTuber, I'm throwing my name in the hat. I'm more than happy to do a fight with you, $100 million each, exhibition, 3 rounds.
Created live on Fireside.
Welcome to Athletic Definition, latest sports and fitness news, covering what's trending in fitness and sports around the world. I am your host, Coach Ray Z. Thank you for joining me today on episode 148. Today I'll be covering boxing, NFL, the Army new fitness test, wild animals that you encounter while hiking, plus lots more, so be sure to stick around till the very end. Recently, I think his name is Ulysses, broke his own record for marathoning, and I'm going to tell you the secret to how I feel he did it at the very end. I'm going to start off with UFC. Bo Nickel is their latest signing. I was trying to get his and Chamet's fight comparison because they're both undefeated. They both have wrestling as their background, and they both have really taken very little damage. So I'm looking forward to see if they end up fighting. He challenged him, and he also challenged Logan Paul, and he said he'll do it anywhere. WWE, UFC. I think he's just looking to make a name for himself and also get that big payday. I'm looking forward to that. We'll see if Logan Paul responds. And I know already, for some reason, this name, I'm going to have to work on it, but he already responded, and I look forward to seeing what his first fight will be when it's announced. In football, there's a Dallas Cowboy, Gavin Escobar, unfortunately was killed while hiking in Southern California. And as I was looking into him, he is pretty much a local guy. He was born in New York from what I saw, but he moved over to Southern California rather young. From there, he went to local high schools. Then he went to, I believe, San Diego University. And then he played for the Cowboys. He played for the Ravens. I think he ended his career with the Miami Dolphins. And I'm not sure if it was his girlfriend or wife. It appeared that they have kids from what I read, and they were both killed. Some other hikers saw them, and it's pretty sad because they're also locals from here, Southern California. They were living in Huntington Beach, and he was also a firefighter here in Long Beach, California. So my condolences to their family. I had a couple I had a couple rock climbers on, both females, on my Spanish podcast, El Mundo de Fitness. And they were, breaking down to me the sport and how it is. And I've never done it personally. I know that there's different ways to do it, so I'm hoping there was no foul play, and it's tragic either way, but I just wanted to say my condolences on that. And since we're talking about football, I have a show on Fireside only, exclusively on here. It's called The Football Examiner. And there I, give you the breakdowns of point spreads and who I think is going to win. I give you a recap of the previous week and predictions for the upcoming week. As well as, you're more than welcome to come join the audience, participate, let me know your takes on football. But I did want to just touch a little bit more, not necessarily on the game, but on the hit yesterday, Tua. I saw it from different angles. On one side, it looked like a German suplex. On a different angle, it didn't look quite bad. Regardless of, if it was a suplex or not, it was a horrible hit. I don't think I've seen the human body react the way his body did. He definitely had a concussion, and now it's being questioned whether he had a concussion the previous game on a short week, and he's playing. This is a tough call, it's a tough call. If he said it was his back, and I believe they have to get an independent neurologist to sign off on it, and they signed off, then I'm not saying that the NFL wouldn't try to cover it up. I'm not saying that they would, but time will tell. Tua, and I think a lot of these players, these competitive professional athletes, they're wired a certain way. So today he already tweeted, basically he's feeling a lot better, and that he was very disappointed and sad that he wasn't out there with his team when they needed him. So instead of thinking about his recovery and I don't know if they showed him the footage when he was thinking of that. He was already thinking of, that he's letting down his teammates. That's a certain type of person that's wired a certain type of way. And he's already intending and looking forward to recovering and returning to the field. I don't know what the protocol will be now. I definitely know that there will be an investigation because this does not look good on the NFL if that is the case. Every job has its risk, and when I worked at the bank, I got to visit a bunch of different departments. One of the departments I got to visit is the cash vault department. The cash vault it's underground in downtown LA, and I'm sure every bank has different cash vaults. I know they do, located in different places. So this one was like underground, and I got to visit there. And when you go there, they have cameras everywhere. They check your phone to see if there's a bomb. They have doors that won't open up unless you are cleared to go from one end. And from what I learned, because we were taking a tour so that we had a better understanding of how all the departments within the bank work. That way we could service all our customers, because I would deal with, everything from ACHs to wire to technical support to cash vault and so on. And one of the things that they made you sign to work in this department was that if you happen to get captured by a robber basically trying to do no good, you sign a release saying that basically the bank's not going to negotiate for you. You're on your own, because they're not going to, for one person, give up the millions and millions of dollars that there's in that cash vault. This is where all the armored trucks come and bring money and take money. And then besides that, it's where the federal government keeps, oh man, I can't remember the certain amount, but it's a lot. It's basically in case the shit hits the ceiling and there's some sort of problem. Like the last time they actually had to use it was during I think no, not the Watts riots. I think when the Rodney King, I think during that time, they basically, anytime that there's some sort of big event that's going on, people get panicky and then they go to the bank and try to withdraw all their money. And then what happens is, if everybody does it, the banks don't have enough money, so they keep that money there. So if there is something going on, basically people won't panic, and that's part of the risk. That's part of the job. Tua, he signed a 4-year deal worth what 30 what does it say $30,275,438,000 contract with the Miami Dolphins. It's 19,578,500 signing bonus with 30,275,438 guaranteed. And his average annual salary is $7,568,860 per year. Now, the people that were working at the cash vault when I worked at the bank definitely were not getting paid close to that amount of money. And he seems to be wired a certain way where he's already talking about he wants to play again, and that was a vicious hit that he took. But I think businesses always find a way around it. They will find, like, hey, if you sign this paper, it's okay for you to just work instead of taking an hour lunch, you could take a 30-minute lunch, and then you'll get paid overtime. And they always find some sort of loopholes. And that's kind of also, it should be up to the player before he's in a concussion in certain sports, I think, where they decide when they're in sound mind if they want to continue, whether they're concussed or not. Because sometimes that's like, I've seen boxing matches where a guy got his jaw broken in like the first or second round, and they let the fight go and he ended up winning. And I've seen plenty of times where you're like, oh, I mean, both fighters have to be concussed the way they were hitting each other, and the fight goes on and there's a winner. And that's how legacy and legends are made. I could remember, I'm a big Niner fan, and there's a whole story of Ronnie Lott. And Ronnie Lott he started off as safety, and then I think as he lost his speed, they moved him to, a corner, and then they moved him to safety. And when the Niners would be down, he would come in and just put a licking on someone so hard that he could just change the game the way it was going. So the story goes that basically he got his pinky crushed with another helmet, and he told the coach to basically cut it off because they wanted to take him out of the game. He's like, no, cut it off. I'm going back in the game. So they cut it off and he went back in the game, and he's just respected. It was his choice. It was his decision. And as I mentioned, that's how legends and legacies are made, and it should be up to the individual, and certain jobs bring you like that legacy, and some people will be like, no, that's not true. But I mentioned earlier about the Dallas Cowboy tight end, getting killed in a rock climbing accident. It appears most of the headlines said former tight end from the Cowboys, or former Dallas tight end, or former NFL player. And from what I was reading, when he was younger, he had cancer, and he he got well. He went into remission, and then he continued on. And I know he was a father. And what was they didn't put cancer survivor or cancer beater. That the title that they gave, which I'm saying it's prestigious, at least in this country, is they put Dallas Cowboy tight end. So that's what I'm saying. I know with all we know with head trauma, but when you're getting paid that much, it should be your choice if you want to play hurt or not. That's how sometimes that's how legends are made on the field. But how much does it really mean to you? Some people, especially now, you see players retiring way more earlier. They want to make some money, be able to have a good life, but they also don't want to deal with. I mean, I've heard some horrible stories where guys start remembering or coming to around Wednesday, and sometimes they have a game on Thursday. And that's crazy to think that they're hating each other so hard that they kind of have amnesia from what he was describing it. And I heard this on the Pat McAfee show, who's a former punter. I think he played for the Colts, and I can't remember who else. But yeah, he's talking about his certain teammates or players that he knew, that's how they would be like, yeah, I really don't remember anything. So it's definitely not no joking matter. But as long as you're an adult and you want to do it before something happens, I say you should have the right to do that. The player union probably won't be too happy about that. But next up, we have nutrition labels on packages. Biden administration pushes for the next step. So I kind of started reading this article, and all the news stories that I'm talking about will be on the show notes in case you want to read the full article. And I couldn't finish it. It's just so much. I'm like really tired of all the red tape and regulation and lobbyists. And it says it's going to take years for them to correct it and figure out what's going on. And the food labels are always so misleading. They'll give you one portion, like how many calories and breakdowns for one portion. So mathematically, you have to do the head because typically the servings are like for four. It would just be a lot easier if they gave us honest, easy to consume and digest for the food labels. And then also compared to other countries, they sell a lot of, I mean, if they really cared, they sell a lot of products that are banned in other countries, like all macaroni and cheese is banned in other countries. Uh, Most bread, the way we make it here, is banned in other countries. And a lot of the soda that we have in the United States here has more sugar than the sodas in other countries. Although obesity is becoming a worldwide issue. So I'm definitely going to go back to that and provide more in the future. But yeah, I just couldn't even finish it. So the next story is the Army. And I've been reading about the Army's new fitness test for quite a while, but I didn't realize it's been 12 years in development. And they've been working on this fitness test, and they're saying it's probably the most scrutinized, talked about, reviewed fitness test in the history of the world compared to other countries and other services. That's Michael McKirk, who oversaw the development in the last 12 years. And that's what he told military.com. That's where I got this article from. I could just imagine how fit people were 12 years ago to now. And that's why they keep changing it and changing it. Supposedly it's going to be here to stay. We'll see. I'll put the whole article. It's about it's a nice little article, but there's also the option to listen to it if you want to on military.com. That's what I do sometimes when I'm busy. I listen to articles, and then when I can, I read them. And then Ronda Rousey compares WWE and UFC fan bases, and she says that the WWE universe, well, that's what they call themselves. I would say I'm part of it, even though I haven't watched in a while. They're bigger fans, that they care more about the fighters, entertainers, and I would say yes. I 100% agree. After you retire, the WWE universe keeps following you, and I think that's why basically Brock Lesnar was able to get into the UFC because he had a big name and he had that college background. And that's also why they signed CM Punk, even though he didn't pan out because of the following that the WWE Universe base followed him even after he walked away from WWE for years. So I'm going to say the fan base for sure is definitely more supportive because from what I was reading, the fan base from UFC, a lot of them, they don't even know like the OGs, the guys who started it, or they won't recognize them. They just know who's popular now, and that's about it. And they may not really know too much detail. That's probably because the average UFC fan is it doesn't really isn't really knowledgeable. They're just the common fan. That's why they were able to promote Ronda Rousey as like so unstoppable and compared to Michael Jordan when she hadn't even been playing that long, or other top athletes, or that's why they were able to convince that Conor McGregor was so good and just hype people up when he really had no ground game. And then since then, and he hasn't really been the same since he's been exposed to that, and then with a broken leg. So we'll see if he ends up coming back. A couple days ago, mountain trail not too far from me. It's I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh, the Mount Wilson Trail. That one you can climb it. It takes quite a while, but this girl, a local girl, I forgot her name. She hikes it maybe a couple times a week, and she had like my worst fear happen to her on the trail. A giant black bear just was walking down the trail, and people she said she was walking up the trail and people start running towards her and they're like, oh, there's an animal up there. They ran. She's like, well, I'm gonna keep going. And then she sees the bear, and the bear, there's like people behind the bear, so she could see that there's people behind the bear walking towards her, and then the bear's walking towards her. She's like, well, it's too late. She already knows she cannot run the bear. So she just pulls out her cell phone and just stands there and lets the bear hopefully walk by her. The bear just walks by her, takes a look at her, and then keeps walking. And then she said she scared it off the mountain trail. And I was like, why would you even like chase a bear? But she said she worked at, I believe, Yellowstone before, and they were trained with what to do with when you encounter, mountain lions or bears, and that bears should never get used to being next to people. So because she knew that, she made sure that at least by trying to scare the bear off, the bear would know better next time not to even try to encounter people. So I think a lot of people definitely don't know how to go to trails properly, to take the right amount of water or shoes. And they probably saw that story and think, oh, yeah, I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't happen often, but you do have to be careful with wildlife in the mountains. Anytime you go hiking, you wear the right shoes, take the right amount of water. This happened a couple days ago here in Santa Clarita. I I think they just canceled it this year, but I ran a couple of the marathons over there. And a mountain lion, which the attacks are rare according to the records, around 20 confirmed attacks have occurred in California in 110 years. But this dad and his son, who was 7 years old, were walking in a California park in Santa Clarita, and a mountain lion jumped out of nowhere and just bit the son in the butt, just like Forrest Gump. And I recently in July 4th got bit by a dog, so I could just imagine, even if the dog wasn't like a German Shepherd or a huge dog, it hurt. So a mountain lion, the boy was taken to a hospital, treated, and he was released. And just I'm sure going to cause trauma, and who knows if he'll want to go hiking. But just be careful, be vigilant when you do go out hiking. Floyd Mayweather, he just had another exhibition fight. I watched it. He took a little bit of damage, and he ended up winning by a knockout. He was talking about he's not the same fighter that he used to be, at least back when he used to just be able to control the whole fight. So he says he's not into fighting any legitimate boxers because Manny Pacquiao has been calling him out. And he basically said that boxing retired Manny Pacquiao and that he retired from boxing. Not that he let the sport retire him. So he's like, I understand if Manny Pacquiao wants to fight me. That's where the paid is at. But he's like, he's not willing to take on any more legitimate boxers, any high level ones. He just wants to fight MMA fighters in boxing rules and YouTubers. So Floyd Mayweather, if you want a YouTuber, I'm throwing my name in the hat. I'm more than happy to do a fight with you, $100 million each, exhibition, 3 rounds. We could promote it here on Fireside. It streams on Twitch, Facebook, throw it into the podcast, and then we'll do a pay per view. So, Mayweather, I know you say you're no longer Pretty Boy Floyd or Money Mayweather, but you can still entertain people. And that's what I want to do as well. So, let's entertain people. Let's make some money. He also recently got challenged by Jake Paul, which would you if you guys know about the Logan, I mean the Paul brothers, or don't know about them, they're YouTubers that have turned fighters. There's Logan Paul and Jake Paul. For a long time, I really wasn't quite sure who was which, but I like Logan Paul better. He's the guy in WWE, and his podcast is pretty good actually. I've seen this podcast with Tony Robbins, Mr. Wonderful, Dana White. After they had their whole squab and a couple other people, I think he had Triple H on there. So I saw a couple of ones, more for the guest, and he's big enough. So last year he made $30 million in YouTube, Logan Paul, and then 30 million boxing. Now he boxed Mayweather, but now his brother wants a piece of it. Jake Paul, he's like, you fought my brother, but you won't fight me. So Mayweather said, hey, I think he'll fight him like at 145, and Jake Paul weighs 175. So he wants to do some sort of like catch weight. He's like, you walk around at 165. Let's do something around there, 160, 165. And Mayweather, he's not looking to take any more damage. He says he's not that fighter, but he can still entertain. So now he's just basically trying to go around and make money, not take on any hard fights where he's going to take too much damage. And I would say that's pretty smart. He's one of the fighters in boxing history who didn't take that much damage, and even if he didn't take that much damage, he still talks about that sometimes he can feel the effects from fighting, and that's why he's making so much money, so that his family, in case something, he just gets to the point where he's not functional, they have enough money to take care of him. The Clippers owner, Steve Ballmer, is the richest owner in sports for the 8th straight year. And I compared, let's see if I can pull up the article. I think if I remember correctly, this one wasn't just with the NBA. This was with different, just compared to, yeah, this was like comparing the Kings owner, who also owns the Galaxy. LA Galaxy is worth about 11 billion. So they compared a little bit of everything. That's Microsoft money. Pretty nice, pretty nice. I'll probably do a breakdown of that a little bit more, but he's the main guy. Speaking of tech money, Shaquille O'Neal, he was interested in buying the Phoenix Suns until he saw initials on the contract, and he saw the initials JB. He's like, yeah, you just don't mess with James Brown, and basically you don't mess with Jeff Bezos, which is the owner of Amazon. And Shaq said on the big podcast, I don't know if you don't mess with them. I just don't think that you can mess with them. I mean, let's be honest. I seen Shaq breaking down that one time he met some guy, and the guy told him, hey, you're rich, but I'm wealthy. And he kind of broke down the difference. And this is the difference between being rich and, being wealthy. Like Shaq, net worth is $400 million, which that's a lot of money. But Jeff Bezos, he's wealthy. He's worth $141.4 billion. I just don't think that basically money, the pocket wise, Shaq would have been able to compete. And Shaq, I say, take him on anyways. You never know. And like you say as well, Shaq, do you want to be good or do you want to be great? Do you want to be great or do you want to be legendary? So I would say take on Jeff Bezos. Whatever you end up winning, then you could be like, I'm the guy who outbid Jeff Bezos for the Phoenix Suns. So I think he's still interested in maybe buying the Orlando Magic. if the owner wants to sell it, he I think he's interested in buying teams he played for, which $400 million. Um, I'm trying to remember the last. Yeah, I think he has enough to buy an NBA team. Definitely. I think the last one that sold was the Clippers, and I think that was like $1 billion, which is the same owner from the Clippers that bought it. But yeah, I got one more. So Ulid, I can't pronounce his last name, but he's basically probably one of the fastest marathoners on the planet. He's done sub 2 marathons before, which basically is running a marathon in under 2 hours, but they weren't official. One, I believe, because of the shoes. There's a shoe by Nike that's supposed to make you a little bit faster, like uh, seconds, and then also because it was on a flat track and he had pacers, they don't consider it. But about 4 years ago, he broke the record for fastest marathon time, and now just recently, this past weekend, he broke it again in Berlin. So he broke his marathon time by 30 seconds. And a lot of people are basically trying to figure out how he did it. Always into running. I'm an endurance athlete, have completed 57 marathons so far. And I do a lot of cross training as well. And I'm trying to. I happen to finish reading Dean Karnassus's book, which is a Runner's High, and after I was done with that one, I was reading another book called I think the name of the title is 159, and it's basically talking about, will any human ever hit the sub 2 marathon? I haven't finished reading it, so I am going to try and finish reading it ASAP and kind of give a little bit more information on him and if any human will be able to do it. 30 seconds got him down to, see, that's where I didn't write it down, but it got him down to like still it got him to 2 hours, 1 minute with 9 seconds. So he still needs another minute and 9 seconds to go under 2 hours, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, because you're going for that pace. I think in maybe you're holding a mile for about 5 minutes and 30 some seconds, if not faster, for 26.2 miles. But one of the ways, and maybe people don't know it, but I think it's his water boy. He met this guy, I guess, 4 years ago when he broke the record. And his name is, let me see, I wrote it down, and you can YouTube him, and I'll put it on the show notes. His name's Klaus Henning. And he's like the most excited water boy, water person, helper out there. He'll ride his bike and he'll have the water and he'll hand it to him right when he needs it, and then he'll ride his bike again and he'll meet him at the next stop and he'll hand him the bottle. He doesn't have to pull over and lose time at a table. He hands it out. He hands it off to him smoothly, and that's very crucial when I'm trying to run a marathon and trying to avoid the crowds as much as possible. Is I'll avoid the water stations on the first couple miles, because most people will stop for some reason on like the first 3 miles and it's just so congested. So I'll kind of wait till the end, and then people see the water stations coming, so they'll start going left or right, and they'll start basically messing up the people that are going straight. So I try to kind of go in the middle of the street, let the first people kind of take up the first waters, and then I'll still get in the middle. And if I really don't want to stop, then I'll take like just a handheld water bottle, and then every so often, so many miles, I will stop and just get water, because all that adds seconds to your marathon time. And if you're really trying to break a world record, which this guy was trying to win, I think like I can't remember how many elite marathons, but the only ones he didn't hasn't done yet or won is New York and Boston. And then I think he's also working to qualify for the Olympics. He's 37 years old. He's basically destroying all the records. And I go back to thinking of Roger Bannister. Before Roger Bannister, people thought that no one could run a sub 4 mile for a long, long time. And then once he broke it, it's always like humans and the way we think. It's like, well, if he did it, then I could do it. And soon after he did it, within a month, I forget how many people were able to break it, including like high school students were able to do it. So it's always someone inspires you or gives you the blueprint, and always kind of going out on your own and trying something and trying to create the blueprint so that others can follow in your footsteps is way more difficult. But if you have a blueprint, might as well follow it and always look for the best in whatever sport or fitness or martial art you're trying to do, because success leaves clues. And I would definitely want to see what the best of the best are doing and try to replicate it to the best of your ability. At the same time, be like Bruce Lee and his philosophy of take what is useful and then disregard what isn't. That way we don't all have the same abilities, but just you could see, just for example, the preparation and the amount of time that they put in training. They're not just taking it lightly, and that's why they get the results. That book's pretty interesting because I know a lot of people think it's just certain people from Ethiopia or Kenya, and he breaks it down very well where it doesn't work out that way. And then I saw a YouTube video where a couple guys from like the UK went to go run with them, and they were able to get just as fast. So it's a lot of things that definitely can go into it. But in the book of 159, the author was saying that he thinks that a lot of it has to do with like American diet, basically how we eat very unhealthy compared to other countries, and that takes a toll. That's one of the major important things. In fact, they say that some of the elite runners, once they start traveling a lot to train or compete, they start eating more unhealthy, and then that actually messes them up because where they're from, they have access to, or the access they have is more to a cleaner diet, certain types of food, which I can't recall. That's why I'm still working on that book. But once I finish it, I'll give you more details on it. But that is the athletic definition, sports and fitness news for the week. And I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I will be back with actually, this upcoming, let me make sure. Yeah, wow. Just like that, the month is over. Today's September 30th. And this Monday, I will be having Drunk's episode with my co host, Ty. And we will be doing a beer review of Mother Earth's Brewery. What we do is we talk about earning your beer. How did you exercise that day? And then we're going to be reviewing that beer. So if you can get your hands on it, you're more than welcome to let us know what you think, how it tastes. Actually, after you do a race, there's a beer garden. And part of my tradition is after every marathon, I go and I have a beer. So we like to earn your beer. Otherwise, if all you do is drink, you could just become an alcoholic too easily. So that'll be this Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time zone. Follow me on Fireside to get the alert. And then I will be back. Oh, I got to figure it out. I think probably Tuesday, and that will be for the Football Examiner. That's exclusively here on Fireside. That is where I recap weeks 4 football picks, and we'll be previewing the upcoming NFL week of week 5. Then Friday, we'll be back again with athletic definition. And for October, what I'm going to try and do is I already have it kind of planned. I'm going to be trying to mix in ghost, spooky, Halloween, mysteries, maybe some UFOs into fitness related stories. And we'll see how. I haven't really figured out how I'm going to do that, but that's the goal. I want to try and do a theme plus guest. And I'm already just working on, if you are bilingual, I do El Mundo de Fitness too. I'm working on getting more guests, and that's basically almost the same thing as athletic definition, but in Spanish. One thing that I will be talking about, because there's so much mystery there, I know for Halloween, is Sedona, Arizona. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue there, from vortexes to energies to aliens. So I'll be definitely doing a story on Sedona. And that's the medal from the half marathon that I've done there for, I don't know, the last 5 years. Speaking of races. It's never too early to start getting ready for next year. They say that summer bodies are made in the wintertime, although it's fall still. That just gives you an early start. But if you want to join me next year in Orange County, California, the OC for the 5K, the kids run, the half marathon or marathon, you can use my discount code Ray Runs 10, and that'll get you a discount on any distance. I am one of the ambassadors. I will be running it again. Who knows what marathon number that'll be? Should have been at 60 by the end of this year. I would have been in October going to the Lake Tahoe triple to run 3 marathons in 3 days. But I got bit by a dog and then I got an infection. And by the time I got clearance from the doctor, basically everything with inflation is so expensive. I couldn't book my flight or my hotel. I usually try and do everything early to save money from all the years of doing this. That's what I learned. Book early, book early. So I ended up just basically deferring it till next year. And the only thing I have on the books for sure next year is Sedona Half Marathon. That's on Super Bowl weekend. So if you want to go there, I do have a discount code for that, but not I can't remember it off the top of my head. You could always reach out to me on all my social medias as Coach Ray Z. And then I will be doing what is it? I think my 17th consecutive Los Angeles Marathon. And then right after that, straight into the OC. The OC is in May. So if you have any plans, I know I have listeners all around the world from Germany to the UK, Canada, India, and everywhere in the United States. You want to come to California? The OC is nice. More than happy to have a beer with you at the beer garden. Thank you once again, everybody, for joining me. My name is Coach Ray Z, Athletic Definition, episode 148. Until next week, I'm out.